Alderman Foote.
When we started out in 2005, January 15th, most of you, except for Miguel, were not on the board, nor was I. Jerry, do you remember what the total indebtedness was that we looked at in January 15th of 2005 with approximately a $5 or $6 million? I'm not sure they ever made up their mind. What would have been the total indebtedness? Just from your memory, and I don't hold you to the penny.
January 2005, may I reply?
Sure.
Okay. I believe that was when the city still had one single line. And the ceiling on that was $1.5 million.
Yes, I'm referring to that. What was the debt at that particular time on the COPS 2 and the COPS 1 on long term?
Okay.
As well as...
Hey, when I first stepped on the board, the city was $24 million in debt.
That was the figure I was looking for.
Yeah.
We were $24 million in debt in 2005. We also were running and paying bills with a letter of credit of 1.5 was the total line of credit. We used sometimes that amount, sometimes less. The board at that time also wanted a bond of between $5 and $6 million, and I was so confused as a resident at that time. I didn't know whether they were looking for 5 or 6, but it really didn't matter because the citizens took one look at that and said, we're not going for $30 million worth of debt, and it was voted down. Citizens said, we want the building stopped. It was stopped. That saved $14 million. So right at that point in time, we dissolved about $20 million off of the city debt. Now, the Aquatic Center, COPS 1, was $1.8 million, or excuse me, $8.6 million when we started out, and the total long-term debt on that was well over $10 million. So that debt remained. We have had a struggle for survival in this city, and from 2006, 2007, what was going on? Payroll cuts, staff cuts, streets not fixed, repairs deferred. You go out now and look at your streets. Are they upkept? No. So we're talking about all this money we have. Infrastructure has been denied. Buildings haven't been repaired. Furniture in the community center hasn't been replaced. And I think Mr. Friedrich eloquently stated it. They haven't made any stormwater repairs, although they were promised. The purpose of this city and its existence is to provide services and take care of the infrastructure. It's not a contest on how much money we have or how little we have. It's how well we use that money, and if the records that we keep are honest records and they're available and transparent to the residents. Mr. Eckrich, do we have on the net site for this city a clear representation of our budgets, and do we have available to the citizens information concerning our cash flow?
The budget is certainly on the website. The audit's on the website. I don't think our monthly cash flow analyses are there, but they're readily available to anybody that wants them.
So what I'm basically saying, we couldn't close our books in 2003, 2004. Now you have a complete picture of your budgets and the end audit reports. And is there any more information that you could possibly want to keep track of this city? I think not. But we accumulated a lot of funds because we cut and we stopped repairing things. And just because we clamped down on spending money and we accumulated money doesn't necessarily mean we had our due diligence and took care of the city as we should have. So I think if this board really wants to do the job, let's look at what our needs are. And let's find out what it's going to take to bring these streets back to repair. If you take a single street and you break through the top surfaces on that street and water penetrates down into the base, It's not very long before that street is nothing. So I think before we jump in the soup here and start giving all this back and that back, it should be carefully looked at. It's the citizens' money, it's the citizens' service, and it's our job to see to it that this is a fair, equitable situation. I don't want any money that isn't ours or can't be used. But I do think we have to take care of this city, and I think that's what the citizens of this city expect us to do. Now, I am not really at this point asking for anything more than Douglas Brewer, the finance officer, and the city administrator to take a good look at the 5-year plan, and I'd like to know where we're going before we start throwing up our hands and say we're in great shape. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Alderman Beasley.
The infrastructure in this city consists of public safety, public security, and other items. We have a tremendous staff. And Mr. Eckridge, I think we've gone from in the 130 sums to in the mid-90 sums. 95. Is that 95, something like that? A consideration that has to be made for these incredible staff members here who work tirelessly to bring us grants and bring in additional funding into this city is we've got to look at their payroll. We've got to look at a whole bunch of other things that relate to those staffs. You start addressing any more in reduction in that area, we're going to be cutting into our infrastructure and cutting into our services that we're providing in this community. And I think all of those things have to be considered before we make any additional moves.
Okay, Alderman Duchow.
I appreciate Alderman Beasley and Alderman Foote's comments and passion. However, it's detracting from the purpose of this tax, which was to pay off the loans. It's a specific purpose tax, and that's how it was sold. And the resolution pretty much states that people voted to get the city back onto strong footing, and that's what's happened. And it's even, I think we've even done a lot better than that. So I just want to point out that this was a specific tax, and we're not talking about a tax which covers infrastructure. We're not talking about a tax that covers police, fire, all that. All those are great things. They voted on specifically to pay off the loans, eliminate any encumbrances on the city-owned property, and to eliminate the need for the line of credit. And I think that's what it's done.